went back home and was kind of like, indifferent to the whole thing, kind of upset, and reflecting on what had happened, reflecting on the fact that I was going to have to accept the rest of the team, of other fencers going to Athens, and someone else winning that gold medal that I've wanted for 9 years of my life so far, and that I've been working so hard to get. And it was a pretty tough thing, but again, that support system that I had that out in Oregon really pulled through for me. They kept me motivated. They kept me, thinking positively. Kept me going to practice, even though I didn't really feel like it anymore. My parents, kept telling me everything happens for a reason, and in life in general, no matter what happens to you, if someone says everything happens for a reason, you want to believe them, but at the same time you're like, well, when am I going to know what that reason is, because this is not fair at all. But I had to trust the people that were around me, and the people who had gotten me to that point anyway. Regardless of whether or not I made the team, I had achieved already so much more than I thought that I could ever achieve anyway. So looking at it that way and having these people around me just kind of keep me thinking positively and keep me optimistic kind of helped with the grieving process, I guess. I continued to go to tournaments. Because of my world ranking, I still had a really slim chance of making the Olympic team, because I was the highest ranked fencer in the world not to be going. I was like the one below the cut line. And so they were like, we got to keep you in shape. We got to, anything can happen. We have to keep going to these tournaments. And at that point, all the pressure was really off. I think there was 3 more tournaments in the season. I went to Tauber-Bischofsheim in Germany, and I won my first World Cup that I had ever won, and it was a really great feeling to be able to achieve something like that, even though I knew that in a couple months I wasn't actually going to end up going to Athens. And then after that tournament in Germany, I think I was ranked 4th or 5th in the world, and we were flying home to Portland, and I turned my phone on after getting off the long international flight and had a message from Adam saying, "Congratulations, Zaggy," and I didn't really know what he was talking about, but apparently throughout this whole process, one of the fencers from Nigeria wasn't being sent by her federation or something, so.
Losing memory, I think it was this.
Ed, not on the phone, though, on the phone?
I did from my wife.
Okay, that's right. So it was all a blur, and basically found out I made the team, and at that point, it was really the complete polar opposite feeling of what I had felt back in March when I thought I didn't make the team. And at this point, everything does happen for a reason. You have to trust the people around you, because if I had just given up on everything and not really cared anymore about fencing, even though I did care, but didn't feel like I should care, they kept me motivated, they kept me strong, they kept me in the gym, they kept giving me lessons, made me go to these tournaments, and I'm really glad that they did, because then I was prepared. That was in June, and I was prepared to leave a month and a half later and go to Athens, and at that point, I had no pressure on me. People didn't expect me to be there. I personally expected myself to be there because I wanted to make it the first time around. So when I went there, it was kind of I'm just going to fence, and I'm going to show these people what I'm made of. I'm going to prove to everybody and prove to the world and myself that I'm meant to be here, and I'm supposed to be here, and then I was able to go to Athens and win. So that was a really good experience for me, and to say the least, to kind of prove myself to the world and kind of show that I had wanted it the whole time. And the best feeling, I think, for me was the fact that I was able to go there and win and not watch someone else walk away with that gold medal that belonged to me. So it was, it was really good. I was really thankful that I was able to keep a positive attitude, because you just have to, trust in your instincts and trust in your ability. So I was able to go to Athens and win, and then I went to school for a little bit at Notre Dame, and then before I knew it, it was time to start training for Beijing. Then it came down to having me make a difficult decision, because I was halfway through school. I had been away from, I was fencing in school, but I'd really been away from full-time training for a long time. But I knew that I still had a lot left in me. I knew I had at least one more Olympics, and the worst thing that you can do is look back and ask yourself, what if? And I knew that leaving school was going to be a hard decision for me, and I would leave my friends and eventually give up my NCAA eligibility, but I knew that it was something that I had to do in order to, win again. And you have to dedicate yourself 100%. You really can't be the best in 2 or 3 things. If you want to be the best in one thing, that's what you need to dedicate all your time and your work and your effort, and your complete life revolved around. And so I wanted to kind of repeat how I trained for Athens. Unfortunately, Adam got recruited away to the Air Force Academy, but I was still able to.
That was good. You won.
It was. I mean, I guess it worked out, but I was able to. So I left school and I came back to Portland in early 2007, late 2006. Started training with Ed, and was like, well, I'm just going to do what I did last time. This time it'll be a little bit easier to make the team probably because we have a team event, so you only have to qualify by the national point standings, not the international point standings, which is so much easier because I'd been on the team ever since 1999. So it's like, if only like by a freak accident I wouldn't make it. So I was a lot more confident that I was going to make the team. I was going to have my same training regimen. I was going to, do the same amount of lessons. I looked back at all my notes and my videos and everything, and I was going to say, this is exactly what I'm going to do. This is the formula that made me win in Athens. This is what I'm going to do for Beijing. It should work out, 1 + 1 = 2. That's how it should always be. Unfortunately, that's not how it was for me. 2008 was a really rough year. For some reason, nothing was clicking. I was not winning tournaments. At that point, I had won a couple World Cups, and I had come close in World Championships by getting 2nd place in 2006. And I felt like if I'm doing everything that I was doing last time, why doesn't it feel like it's working out for me the way that it should? Again, this is what you expect to happen, might not necessarily happen. And so the 2007-2008 season, right before the Olympics, I'm working with Ed every day, probably even harder than I was before Athens, just because I didn't, I had this big target on my back from, Athens, no one expected me to be there. I was the underdog. There's no way she can win. She didn't make the team, blah, 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 blah. I come into Beijing. I'm the defending Olympic champion. I'm up there in the rankings in the world. So there's a lot more pressure this time around, and I think that probably is what got to me because I was not winning. I couldn't win a NAC. I couldn't win a World Cup. I think my best result that 2008 season, I got like 3rd, like 3 times, and like one of them was a Grand Prix. So it was like, for my standards, it was not